From the opening division heads meeting, through the entire ordeal with Gabriel and his eventual return to the Saviors, Jeffrey Dean Morgan owns every moment of screen time he inhabits, with a brilliant blend of presence, character, and a very, very scary charisma. It's all about Negan. On this week's The Walking Dead, Season 8, Episode 5, The Big Scary You. Hey everyone, D here, and welcome to this week's review of The Walking Dead. So yes, of course, spoilers are shambling slowly forward. Alright, so what an episode this week. You know, I have to say, I've been really enjoying this season. Usually with Walking Dead, it's like, you know the pattern. You get a couple of good episodes, a couple of bad episodes, a few in the middle episodes. That's usually how the seasons play out. I have to say, I have really enjoyed pretty much every episode this season, and we keep increasing in quality. I mean, the first one was kind of generic. It was a big setup. Second one had its ups and downs along, but still had some interesting moments. And then last week, totally love. Now we are really diving into great character work. We're seeing the payoff of having so much time invested in these characters. We get something like an arc out of Father Gabriel, who I had some issues with early on, but I've liked how his sort of arc has developed. And then even throughout this episode, really focusing down on him. And then, of course, we get just so much insight and so much real time spent with Negan to see that sort of attractive charisma that he has. As fearful as he is, as scary he is, how in control that he is, there is, like I said, that charisma, that presence. And in a way, he appreciates people, and we find out a lot more why in this episode, more than we tend to think. He's not your standard villain bad guy. While he might be an enemy, he does appreciate skill and stick-to-itiveness and all of those things that make a strong person. He finds value in. And of course, in this episode, we find out a lot more of why that is. So really just an astounding episode, and yeah, we get some stuff with Dwight and Eugene and Simon and everyone. But to me, that's kind of sprinkling. That's just extra stuff to move the story forward. Really, this was all about Negan. Now, of course, I will tell Father Gabriel's story along with Negan's because they are pretty much together throughout the entire episode. And also, this episode really bookends with Father Gabriel on both ends. And really kind of focusing on his idea of not wanting to die a fruitless death. And I love the idea that we start off with the kind of flashback moments that we have before the whole attack. I love how they've sort of interweaved the flashbacks and flash forwards and everything through these episodes. I always appreciate it when it's done well, and this was kind of nice as we got to see sort of Father Gabriel set up as well as Negan's and his group set up before Rick's attack and everything sort of piles forward. But we have the beginning with Father Gabriel is that idea of not wanting to die a fruitless death, that is his big fear. He has accepted his sins, of which he has many. But that he has changed, that he has overcome his fear of death because of his commitment to God and everything like that. That he doesn't even mind dying, that he even sees the fact that he is likely to die. Which makes sense, he's going into battle. This is praying right before the whole, attack on the sanctuary. But he doesn't want to die a fruitless death. He doesn't mind. Just in service of God. If he dies, do it for a reason. And that gives him a certain strength that really, I think, allows him to stand toe-to-toe with Negan through a lot of these scenes. Now, as for Negan, from the very moment that he appears inside that meeting, I mean, we have the opening with Simon and pulling Gregory in, and that was funny. It was kind of nice just seeing that little backstory, and Gregory is just a sort of sniveling, just trying to convince everyone that he's doing the right thing. But that comes, I mean, even from the moment there where Gregory says, I don't want to kill anybody any more than you do. And we get Negan's response off of that is, I like killing people. The right people. And this is where we start to get that real insight into Negan's character and his motivation. I mean, we always know that he appreciates people with skill, that have something to bring to the table. That's why I liked Rick so much, because Rick was very, and even him and his whole group, they're very effective. They can get things done. They've got skills, and Negan can appreciate that. He likes people. He wants people to work for him, to bring things to him. That's his whole point. But it was interesting hearing him how the whole justification for the saviors are, that his presence there is to do the right thing and kill the right people for the right reasons. By killing one person, you can save 100. And that is what he's in business for, to save people, hence the saviors. And like Gregory, I was a little surprised that that's where it came from too. Okay, this is your point of view. But he's very committed to that. Even when Simon, throughout the whole attack on the hilltop, was A and B, well, we'll try and do it. If not, we'll kill everybody. No, that's not something that Negan wants. I mean, and that's the perfect shift that Jeffrey Dean Morgan can bring to the table as this character, is that Joyce, like, this is what we're here for and this is what we're supposed to do, to, are you messing with me? Are you disagreeing with me? Are we not simpatico in our mindset? Just his presence and holding that in the camera right there, that whole scene, was just awesome. But seeing that dedication, that humans, that people are the resource that he is after, that is what is most important. It's not about killing people, it's about saving people. Yes, you are saving those people to work for you, but in some ways it is a contribution to the survival of humanity. He talks to Father Gabriel about what happens when he had first shown up, and it was just a bunch of disparate, bandless gangs, and he had to go in and step and pull them all together. That is what he does. His comments to Gabriel about that a lot of people are going to die in there, in the sanctuary. Why? Because Negan isn't there to stop it. That is how he sees himself. Even when he talked about kids, that kids needed certain guidance, and if you don't give them the right guidance, then they become grown schmucks, and he didn't use that word. But they become bad people growing up, and even adults, they need that sort of guide. That is Negan's viewpoint. So in some ways, despite how violent he can be, despite almost a certain level of psychosis, well, certainly a willingness to kill without much of a problem with it when it's needed, he sees himself as the savior for his people. That he is the one that's going to guide this morally bankrupt, scary, desperate group of surviving humans through the apocalypse and to the end. And for that, I think even Gabriel has to acknowledge it. In that last scene where he does get back to the saviors, and we have the girl like, thank you, Negan. God bless you for being with us. He had the right at that point to throw that back to Father Gabriel, because that's exactly what he was saying. Look, you may disagree with me, but I am here serving a purpose. Now, of course, we did get a few extra little insights into Negan's background right there. One, he was married. We still don't know what he did. He seemed to imply that it was something with kids, but still not really sure how that is. It'd be interesting if it was like a high school guidance counselor. Wouldn't that be funny? But he was married, not necessarily a good husband, cheated on her, ran around on her. She was sick. She died. She died in the apocalypse, though, I guess. So she got sick beforehand. He did all that stuff. Apocalypse happened. She dies, but his weakness, what he couldn't do, is he couldn't shoot. He couldn't shoot his wife, which is interesting, kind of comparative to like Morgan, who also was in that same kind of position. Now, as for the rest of the saviors, Simon, Eugene, Dwight, everyone, was really just, again, moving the story forward. We were getting our inklings of suspicion here. which I thought was really nicely done. Of course, everyone's looking at Eugene first off, which he can sort of acknowledge back. I liked his gesture to Dwight at the end, giving him a jar of pickles to help, since helping him getting out of that pickle, pun intended. I appreciate that from Eugene. But of course, it is the chess pieces where it all comes down to. Eugene gets the paint on his thumb, assuming that that is something that Dwight has been working on for a while and constantly painting and working, which is why at the end when Dwight sees the exact same point on the bag, he gets the idea that now it is Dwight who is obviously the one that has betrayed them all. Now, he didn't say anything, which I did find interesting. Instead, he went over to see Father Gabriel, which is where we find out that he has actually gotten sick. Which I have to say, thank you. Thank you so much for doing that. Because the whole, let's just pour zombie guts on us and we'll be able to walk and move through, has been almost overdone. Especially with Fear the Walking Dead. Having done it a few times. Now it just seems to be like, why doesn't people do this all the time to get around the world? And with this, we get to see why. And we did have that perfect shot of a bit of foreshadowing beforehand, where we had Negan and Gabriel inside the, looks like a trailer. And his question is, this is just a pile of guts and stomach and shit and all mixed in with the heat and nastiness and decayed organs. Why aren't people getting more sick like this? Yes, the joke about it's Georgia, we can handle that. That was funny. Also irony that he is the one that didn't get sick. But I do appreciate the fact that they do show this, which is a reason why people don't do it more. That when you do it, because you are putting this massive infectious disease-ridden bacterial viral soup all over you, that you are very likely to get sicker, that infection could come in and could take you down. So Gabriel is seeing that. He is hoping that his dying, not a fruitless death, will at least get the doc over to the hilltop for Maggie, and that he might be expecting Eugene to do it. I'm not sure the likelihood of that, but at least we did deal with the whole zombie guts question. And Rick and Daryl have a little bit of a falling out this episode. Well, I mean, they have a disagreement. They don't really have a falling out. They're not mad at each other. They're just, again, disagreement. And it's basically this kind of sums up of what has been going on between the two of them. Daryl, very happy to be shooting anyone in the head that he runs into for any reason. Certainly shot Morales in the head with no compunction against it, which I was fine with. And the kid at the end that told him where the guns were, even though Rick had said, hey, I will let you go. He is ready to just shoot and kill all of the saviors. Rick, of course, has been feeling a bit more morally confused about it. Is there a need to kill them all? And it really comes to a head here, obviously, when they find the explosives. But it's the point of argument I thought was really good, because much like the saviors we're talking about, you can't just throw in the workers because there's a lot more workers than fighters, and if the workers get upset, they could revolt, and there you've got a bigger problem. Here you're seeing that exact argument on the other side, where Daryl is wanting to just go ahead, throw in explosives in the sanctuary, let the zombies run in, let the walkers run in, and just take care of everyone. Except, again, workers, families, kids, grandparents, old, young, that whole stretch of people that are not fighters. They are not technically the enemy. But if you push them, they might become the enemy. Put them in a bad position, make them think that just siding with the saviors is the only way they're going to get out, and now you've got an even larger army to go against. And I guess all of the kingdom people were killed. I guess that was everybody that was with Ezekiel. So their numbers are definitely down. But it was just, again, kind of an interesting point where Rick is like, look, we don't have to kill them all. We might be creating more enemies than we know how to deal with. Whereas Daryl is just dealing with the simple, Boolean on, off, do it, don't do it, just kill them all and it'll be done with. Now, yes, they fight But it's not, again, they're not trying to kill each other. It's not a total split. It's a difference of opinion. Because when the explosives looks like they're going to go, Daryl does help pull Rick out of there. When they're sitting there watching the explosion, they're not yelling and pushing. They're sitting next to each other. Even when they kind of say goodbye. You know, there's that kind of jab back and forth like, you know, we have a disagreement. Chokeholds are illegal. Yeah, I know. That's why I did it. You know, again, strong difference of opinion. And sure, Daryl didn't give Rick a ride, but I don't think he entirely agrees with where Rick is headed next. But it was just, again, interesting to see with the arguments that we've seen on the rest of the Alliance's side between Morgan and Jesus and Tara and everything there, is we've seen that kind of come to a head, but it's not in the same type of violent bit as we had between Jesus and Morgan. They're not trying to kill each other. Well, I think it was Morgan who was really more than really hurting Maine more than Jesus was on that. But that they can have a difference of opinion, still be on the same side, just, you know, maybe not super happy with each other. All right, let's just hit a few small things. One tying back into Rick was the opening little meeting there with Simon and the gang and Negan, where Simon is talking about what to do with the hilltop. He does throw out that line as a flyer. We'll just send a flyer. And that caught my ear immediately. And I like the fact that later on we do see as Rick is heading out on the mission that he is going, which looks like to Janice and her trash group, to see a helicopter go by that was referring to. I was wondering, a flyer? I'm assuming that sounds like an air vehicle, a helicopter or plane. I guess it could be a bomb or RPG type of thing. It doesn't make as much sense, but it could be. But it does really open up a whole different fighting style if the Saviors actually have air power. You know, Negan had an interesting comment with Father Gabriel, and they were talking about Glenn and Abraham's death. And he said that, yes, I killed the husband and the ginger, but I didn't get them killed. That was Rick. And this is sort of a theme that he continues throughout the episode and does have some interesting implications. Because when he's talking about the people dying in the sanctuary, that they'll die because Negan couldn't be there, but they are dying because of an act that Rick has done. In some ways it's a way of sort of deflecting responsibility for things. But there is a certain level of truth in it. Is, you know, your actions do have consequences, and if you make some bad decisions and people die, the reason for those decisions, you know, the responsibility for those deaths do fall on you. Which I think why Daryl and Rick had that certain argument, because Rick is seeing if they go ahead and blow things up and it kills any of the workers or forces the workers to gang up with the Saviors against the Alexandrians and everybody else in the Alliance, then Rick would be responsible for those deaths. So it's an interesting way of looking at things and seeing the kind of larger consequences of one's actions. But also you've got to be careful because, also like I said, it can be easily used to just deflect responsibility for one's own actions. When Gabriel says that I'm here to hear your confession, that was like the creepiest look of Gabriel that we have ever seen. That was almost like Psycho Edge Gabriel. Did you notice the table on Negan's side of the table in the meeting is all beat up? Like he just habitually keeps slamming Lucille onto it. Anyways, it was just a small little moment, little bit, but it said so much, especially when you can see comparatively how smooth the table is around everyone else, and just in front of Negan, it is just pounded all to hell. The Savior dying in front of Daryl and Rick, kind of sad in a moment. It really showing the costs of war, that everyone was dead. But I liked his response. He said, everyone? No, not the king, the axe guy, and the psycho lady. Yeah, that's a pretty good description of Ezekiel, Jerry, and Carol. I'll go with that. Another little perfect character moment after Negan confesses and Gabriel steps out and tries to hand him the gun. And it shall not burden you again. Just bam! That punch right to Gabriel's face. So perfect. And again, not vicious, not cruel, lets him keep the gun, ready to move forward. But just a perfect Negan character moment. Alright, so I think that pretty much covers everything. The war is continuing on. Dwight's getting a little bit of suspicion laid at him by Eugene, but Eugene hasn't said anything yet. And after his little meetup with Gabriel, is he going to try and get the doc out? Is he going to try and help Gabriel do that? Is he going to be a co-conspirator? Does he see the coloring on the wall? Or does he understand that without Negan being there, that the world will fall apart? He seems to be pretty Negan. But I'm really curious how that's going to happen. And of course, we have Rick heading over to Jadis and the junk people and going to try and make a deal again. I don't know what Rick's thinking, but I guess any ally that you can get. So we will have to wait till next week for all that. Really looking forward to it. Only 3 episodes left before our mid-season break. And I just hope they keep this momentum forward. Every episode has gotten better and better as far as I'm concerned, and I'm really hoping they can maintain that consistency. So, we'll have to wait till next week to find out. Now, if you did enjoy this review, please go ahead and hit that like button. Thoughts, ideas, comments, theories, throw those down in the section below. You think Eugene's going to help Father Gabriel? Do you think he's going to turn in Dwight? Is he sort of weighing things out? And what do you think Rick's chances are going to be dealing with Jadis and company? Go ahead, throw those thoughts down in the section below. Now you can always catch me on Twitter and Instagram. I am at Darren Jakes. Now if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. It's quick, it's easy, it doesn't cost you anything. You'll catch the rest of this reviews. Plus we are doing Mr. Robot, Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. returns December 1st. Really looking forward to that. You won't miss any of them if you're a subscriber. Do that by clicking my face right here. And I'll go ahead and throw up our latest couple of reviews right here. You can go ahead and check those out. So, that's going to be it for me. I'm D, and I'm out of here. Catch you guys next time. Bye-bye.